Just give you guys some pros and cons about the Z-Man paddle tail. Now, the one thing, if you notice, the difference between this one and this one is you see how the tails on the one in my left hand is the tail's pointing back to the left. That's because over time, if you leave these in the packaging and they get smushed together, or they lay in the packaging kind of weird like this, or the tail gets kind of pinched in the packaging where you put it in the packaging and it's like this, and it sits there for a long amount of time, they become distorted. So if you notice on this one, it's the same thing. The tail's going a little bit to the right. So what happens is when I use these baits and they get distorted, because I don't want to throw them out, but they start to swim not as natural. So I was using this one the other day, and when I would retrieve towards me, it would swim this way. So it's kind of a little annoying if you're trying to cast into coverage of trees and branches or shoreline, and you want that bait to basically just run directly parallel. It just wants to go this way, and you really want to just stay straight. I mean, I love the baits. They're super durable. The one thing I've also noticed is they make the diesel minnow ones. Now, these are in a package, you know, keep the shape. So why they do that on some other brands and not others, I'm not really sure. And they do it with the trout trick as well. It's got the packaging, and it helps tremendously keeping the shape of the bait, especially the tail, because the tail is the most important part of this whole entire bait. Once the tail starts to go, then either A, you lose complete action on it, or B, you know, since it swims so kind of awkwardly, you know, does it look more natural or more unnatural? I don't know. But what I do, which I haven't seen anybody point this out yet, is I use a Mustad weighted grip, and this is a 4-aught hook. They're great. And they're a little expensive, but I mean, they're perfect. But what I've done, so these are the old Z-Man hooks. One thing I liked about these hooks was it had a little rubber ring to prevent your bait from slipping down. This is the most important part. So what I did is I took this off, and now anytime I go fishing, I took them all off my old hooks and just put them on here as like little keepers. But what I've done is now, to make this hook the perfect hook for this style bait, is I've now just taken it off and put that rubber ring on the Mustad hook. And this weight is perfect. I mean, I love the weight of it. I love the action on it, and it's got this little lip that keeps the bait from sliding down. And the other thing that I do is sometimes when I'm trying to rig these up, what I'll do is, to get as much life out of these as I can, is I'll move this hook around. Sometimes I'll go farther in the back, you know, towards the tail, and then other times if this little area starts to get beat up a little bit more, you know, I'll make the hook pop out maybe a little bit farther up this way. I just move it around, so basically when this bait has expired, that there's just no more life, because I basically just tore up this whole area. So I do as much as I can of moving the hook around inside the body. The other thing I want to mention is, do not mix these baits with any other baits. Keep them in the packaging that you got when you purchased it, because I made the mistake of not reading the packaging, and I put the baits in with other hard baits or other soft plastics, and they basically just fuse together, and it is a mess. So don't ever do that. Don't leave them in direct sunlight, because then they start to get warped and mangled. If you look at the tail, see how it's just really thin compared to this one. It's a little bit thicker, but but if you look, you can see how it's starting to crack. This one's just old. Yeah, once you lose, and let me hold these two up next to each other so you can see the difference. I mean, I know they got different paddle tails. I mean, I know the style's different, but I mean, you can see that's what this tail on the right, that's what this tail on the left is supposed to not necessarily look like, as in the full shape of it, the size, but just the way that that tail is supposed to be perfectly flat and not turn. It's literally supposed to be like this, and it's supposed to kind of almost push forward. So this tail is supposed to be a little bit more like this to catch the water. And right now it's kind of doing this. And once that starts to happen, this bait has zero action. You'll just retrieve it, and it literally is as hard as you retrieve it, it'll just stay like this. You won't ever get any tail action. So the whole benefit is to make sure this thing gets warped and it starts to go really, really straight like that. That's what's happened with this one. I mean, if you look at it, it's toast. So those are just some quick tips. And I wish Z-Man would put these in some kind of packaging like this, because these, man, they're so much better. And like I said, when you start to put them in this style package, I mean, you can tell. Just look how they're in there. Look how, look how the bodies are all distorted. It's just a matter of time before they just, the tails just lose their shape. So I wish they would just take that plastic shell and just put them in these. I mean, I wouldn't mind paying an extra $1 for it, because it's gonna make these baits last so much longer, and I won't have to go buy more, which is obviously probably what Z-Man wants me to do. But yeah, they could just do this with these. So yeah, those are just a couple tips. Try them, and I guarantee your baits will last a little bit longer, and heck, you might even catch more fish in the process.